Rob Morris, born Robert Williams Peckham on the 31st of August 1818, and later known by the name of his foster parent, was a prominent figure in the world of Freemasonry, and is renowned as the poet laureate of Freemasonry. His contributions to Freemasonry are multifaceted, including his role as an educator, author, poet, and lyricist. His contribution to Masonic poetry was recognized in 1884 when he was crowned the Poet Laureate of Freemasonry by the Grand Lodge of New York, a title that had not been bestowed since Robert Burns in the 18th century. A Tale of Anti-Masonry presents a compelling narrative that aligns closely with Rob Morris's ethos and themes prevalent in his work. It explores the themes of moral conviction, the virtues of Freemasonry, the impact of societal change on individual lives, and the enduring strength of personal integrity in the face of adversity. This narrative not only reflects Morris's Masonic ideals, but also serves as a reminder of the complexities surrounding such convictions.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's presentation, From the Quarries, an archive of Masonic lore.
In the year 5789, coinciding with the inauguration of George Washington as the first President of the United States, Oliver Lanceroy, a young and promising Harvard graduate, began his pastoral journey at the church in Wiconet. The expectations for Lanceroy were high, not only because of his academic prowess and moral standing, but also due to an endorsement from Washington himself, a connection formed through a Masonic pledge to Lanceroy's late father, a casualty at Trenton. As Lanceroy settled into his role, his style of leadership, marked by piety and scholarship, resonated well with the community. He was not a man of flamboyance or sensationalism, but one whose steadiness and depth captured the respect and attention of his congregation. Over time, his church prospered under his guidance, with increasing membership and a sense of communal unity and spiritual growth. His personal life was equally fulfilling. Lanceroy married a woman from his parish, embodying virtues that any husband would cherish. They were blessed with children, and his stipend from the church grew in tandem with his family's needs. The Lanceroy household, though modest, never lacked the essentials of life, embodying a balance of simplicity and contentment. Throughout 37 years of service, Lanceroy's life was a testament to the profound impact a dedicated pastor can have on a community. His routine, woven into the fabric of Wiconet's daily life, included not just sermons, but a full involvement in the lives of his parishioners, covering everything from marriage ceremonies and baptisms to offering solace during trials and tribulations. However, as Lanceroy aged, the world around him began to shift. The year 1826, marked as a year of darkness, brought forth the vehement anti-Masonic movement. This movement, fueled by political and social unrest, targeted Freemasonry, condemning it as contrary to religious and societal norms. Lanceroy, a Mason initiated by Washington, found himself in a precarious position. Despite the growing animosity towards Freemasonry, he remained loyal to its principles. This fidelity stemmed from a deep understanding and appreciation of Masonic values, which he saw as inherently moral and virtuous. Personal tragedy also struck, as Lanceroy lost his beloved wife, a daughter, and 2 sons in quick succession. These losses prompted him to retreat from active Masonic participation, redirecting his focus entirely to his remaining family and pastoral duties. Yet the anti-Masonic sentiment continued to grow, seeping into the very fabric of Wiikanet's once harmonious life. The source of this discord was as elusive as it was destructive. The once unified church congregation began to fracture, with Masonry at the heart of the divide. As the anti-Masonic wave swept through Wiikanet, its effect on Lanceroy's congregation were palpable. Members began to desert the church, swayed by the prevailing sentiment against secret societies. Lanceroy, despite his years of service and the respect he had garnered, found himself increasingly isolated. Letters of discontent and disrespect from long-standing parishioners, once his ardent supporters, added to his distress. Amidst this turmoil, Lanceroy remained resolute in his Masonic and his pastoral commitments. His faith in Masonry's virtues and his dedication to his flock were unwavering. This steadfastness, however, did not shield him from the consequences of the growing anti-Masonic fervour. The culmination of this conflict came during a vestry meeting, where Lanceroy faced charges of misconduct relating to his Masonic affiliations. The accusations, devoid of any substantial evidence, were nevertheless a serious threat to his pastoral position. The trial was a public affair, drawing a crowd from Wiikanet and beyond, curious to witness the fate of a man who had been a cornerstone of their community. During the trial, Lanceroy found it challenging to articulate his defence. The weight of the moment, combined with his advancing age, seemed to render him physically and emotionally weakened. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred when Elder Drain, a long-time Mason and friend of Lanceroy, intervened. Despite his advanced age and his frequent lapses into incoherence, Drain delivered a powerful and lucid defence of Lanceroy and Masonry. His speech, charged with emotion and conviction, emphasized the integrity of Masonry and Lanceroy's lifelong commitment to its values.
Members of this vestry, people of Wiikanet, hear me. I stand before you not as a relic of bygone days, but as a voice of enduring truth amidst this maelstrom of unfounded malice. You level your charges at a man, my dear friend and brother, Reverend Oliver Lanceroy, whose life has been a testament to the highest virtues we cherish in our community. You accuse him of misconduct for his allegiance to Freemasonry, a path of righteousness and moral fortitude. But let me remind you, brethren and sisters, what are these Masonic principles that you so rashly condemn? They are the pillars of temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. These are not just Masonic virtues, but the very foundations of a just and moral society. How can one fault a man for upholding such noble ideals? Look around you at the very walls of this church where Reverend Lanceroy has preached love, compassion, and brotherhood for 37 long years. Has he ever led a soul astray? Has he not comforted you in your hours of grief, united you in love, and guided our youth with wisdom? Yet, because he aligns himself with a fraternity that espouses these very values, you deem it fit to cast him out. You speak of Masonry as if it were a shadowy cabal, but you err grievously in your ignorance. Freemasonry is no den of conspirators. It is a beacon of light guiding its members to live lives of honor and integrity. To renounce Masonry, as you so vehemently demand, would be to renounce all that is good and true in the world. Consider the legacy of the great Washington, a Mason himself, who laid the foundations of our nation. Would you dare to tarnish his memory by denouncing the very principles he held dear? Is it not hypocrisy of the highest order to revere the father of our nation while vilifying the fraternity to which he belonged? And what of Reverend Lance Roy's lifelong dedication to this community? Are we so fickle that we forget his years of unwavering service? His door was always open, his heart always ready to receive your sorrows and joys alike. In times of need, was it not he who stood steadfast by your side? Yet now, when he needs you most, you turn your backs on him, blinded by baseless fear and suspicion. I implore you, do not let the hysteria of the times cloud your judgment. Do not be swayed by the clamor of the ill-informed. Remember the man Reverend Lance Roy has always been, a beacon of wisdom, a pillar of strength, and a shepherd to his flock. As for you, Reverend Lance Roy, stand tall and unwavering. Let the tempest rage around you, but remain steadfast in your convictions. Know that your Masonic brethren stand with you, bound by ties stronger than the ignorance that seeks to sever them. In the annals of history, it will not be the voices of your accusers that endure, but the quiet strength of your integrity. Long after this trial is forgotten, your legacy will remain, a shining example of true Masonic virtue. Be true, dear brother, for truth, like the eternal sun, shall always emerge triumphant from the shadows of deceit.
Despite Drain's passionate defense, the verdict was inevitable in the face of overwhelming anti-Masonic sentiment. Lance Roy was dismissed from his position, a decision that symbolized the triumph of prejudice over a lifetime of faithful service. Following his dismissal, Lance Roy left Wicanet with his family, marking the end of an era. His departure was followed by news of his death from apoplexy, a sudden and somber conclusion to a life dedicated to service and principle. Years later, the Masonic community honoured Lance Roy's memory with a fitting eulogy and a tombstone bearing Masonic symbols. This tribute served as a lasting reminder of his unwavering commitment to Masonic principles, even in the face of adversity. For a deep dive into the history, philosophy, and traditions of Freemasonry, subscribe to From the Quarries. You will find hundreds of lectures, presentations, shorts, and other Masonic works written by Freemasons for Freemasons. Visit FromTheQuarries.com or YouTube at From the Quarries.